even attending, let's say, the Paralympics? Is it something you're looking forward to, pushing forever?
It's something she's working on. It's a future dream. I want to achieve it and be an international cyclist and focus on being a deaf cyclist at international level. So at the moment, I'm focusing on training for that. I'm motivated seeing some deaf cyclists who are overcoming the challenges and they are winning. So I know my future is good.
Okay. And obviously, Monica, just like normally when someone is cycling, there is a protective gear that you need, the helmet. As we can see, of course, you're donned in the attires, the both of you. But for Monica, maybe, I do understand that there are, extra sets of equipment that you need to maintain safety for, especially for deaf cyclists. So maybe if you don't mind, maybe you can expound on some of the equipment that something that you have to add on, unlike let's say Nyagodi here.
So you must have a helmet. That's a must for every cyclist, and gloves, and so when you fall it doesn't hurt your hands. And you must have reflective gears, and you must follow the rules. You must be careful on the road and make it your responsibility to make sure your gears and your equipment is good.
Okay, and how can you say maybe the relationship between, of course, like, let's say, for example, for you two, because you have deaf cyclists and you have other cyclists, how has the relationship been, of course, and is there that, let's say, that support from them encouraging you, of course, to continue, participating in the sport?
Sometimes we have some deaf, we feel alone when we don't have other people supporting us. When we are not many in the community, it weighs us down. But if we have many people, we have many challenges. But if we have many deaf people joining, it will be easier for us for communication, because we have barriers, because many people don't understand sign language. So we hope many deaf people will be able to join, and many people support us that way. So individually we can be many and be able to come together as a community.
Okay, and of course pushing the narrative whereby you're encouraging, for Monica, of course you're encouraging more young people, more young, deaf people to actually get into the sport, like encouraging them, telling them that obviously that doesn't mean that that they can't be, as good as a cyclist as someone else, Louis Armstrong and the likes. So maybe are there initiatives that you guys at the moment have put in place that you can actually train even younger kids who wish to continue in the same line, that is cycling?
Yes, we have some deaf cycling communication, but at the moment we don't have some plan that is definite, but we are looking forward to, maybe as we participate, maybe as they see our performance in the near future, they are motivated to join and come and cycle with us through our performance. So recently, 2 weeks ago, we had some at Kasarani. We had some championship, and some deaf people came to see us, and as we won, they feel motivated, so maybe they'll join us. Yes, they are encouraged, because they are encouraged to join us. Yes.
Okay, and for you, Nyagodi, what can you say needs to be done to make it more comfortable? Let's say to make it more comfortable for deaf cyclists, of course, even among your own circles.
Okay, for me, I think everybody learning some basic sign language, okay, just enough to be able to communicate with them. So as a community, they don't have to feel like they are alone when they're cycling and they don't have an interpreter, so everybody can communicate with them. Maybe at the start line, maybe someone to guide them, to communicate with them appropriately as the race goes on. So some basic understanding of sign language by many people, by the public, will be a great step. Yes.
And that has been, it's something that has been pushed over the years, and it still continues to be pushed, of course, among the measures, the safety measures to keep cyclists safe. Because, as I mentioned a while back, you've seen at the moment all over the roads, you have cyclists, of course, practicing, you know, be it for fun, be it to get to work, be it just for leisure. We've seen them all already on the roads. And so maybe for the next question, of course, to Monica Wambui, going forward, what can you say for yourself, and of course speaking for all, you know, deaf cyclists? What can you say needs to be done, even in terms of more competition, more tournaments being created? What can you say needs to be done to actually ensure that, you know, deaf cyclists actually have a sport to, you know, rally with, to go with moving forward, something that they can say, they can put it as their own niche?
Okay. Right now we are having some plans to motivate us and join more races. So at the moment we're just hoping for support, and that's all for now. Because of COVID, finances have been scarce, and everyone, it's hard for us to train because nobody is ready to train when they have no funding, and it becomes a challenge at the moment. So a lot of support is needed at the moment. So we are just patient and hoping for the best. So, but we are lucky we have some people who motivate us. Yes, some hearing, some deaf, so for development. But we hope in the future we'll have more support. So at the moment we're just waiting, and we hope to win more races, and that will motivate some people to, so yes.
Okay. Now, the fact that you have to have additional, for Monica, the fact that you have to have additional equipment to keep you safe, obviously, so that maybe hearing the noises, the cars approaching and whatnot, do you think that itself is an expense that ensures, or rather that makes it hard for deaf cyclists to, you know, practice the sport?
Yes, it's expensive. So it's very expensive. The bikes, the types of bikes we need. So when it's cheap, we need gear that is in high quality for safety, and it's quite expensive.
Okay, and for you guys, for how long have you guys been cycling together? And when you guys are training, obviously, does it mean that you're limited, that she can't participate? For you now, Nyakuthi, does it mean that that Monica cannot participate in events that, you know, that you are not participating in? Are there a set of tournaments whereby she's only exclusive, and for you, obviously, it's exclusive for you as a, you know, as a cyclist, and which tends to be different from Monica's?
Okay, if I'm not there, if the interpreter is not there, I must go. I'll just find some way, and then we'll just know somehow how to go about it. Yeah, we'll have to make do. Yes. And
for you, Nyaguthi, has it been difficult, the fact that, you know, the fact that Monica is your friend, and you have to, let's say for you, you have some of the tournaments, different tournaments to, you know, to participate in. How has that been? Is it that you have to, let's say, shape your schedule according to Monica's here, or how does that work exactly? Okay, for me at the moment, I'm currently racing for a different team from Monica. So sometimes in the competitions we'll happen to be in the same race. So that that's not much of a challenge when we are participating in the same races. But when we are participating in different races now, okay, sometimes she'll just have to be on her own, or I'll have to focus on mine, and it's a challenge, but it's good. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to be digressing a bit, of course, for the viewers. We're going to be taking you to Movenpick Hotel in Westlands, whereby we have a report on migrant detention, whereby let's just listen in and maybe get an update before we continue with the interview.
that again makes it very difficult for the managers to have proper records of details of these children and even rescue and help them out. I go to a very key area. That also was one of the objectives of this study, aspects of cost analysis. And this is where we were very keen on trying to come up with estimates of what is the cost of migrants' detention in Kenya. And I think from the video you have been able to see that the concern also of the magistrates, the concern of the prison officials, the concern of the different actors at that particular point is what does it mean? How much does it cost? Because at the end of the day, if the government is paying for it, trust me, the taxpayer is paying for it. And as such, we were able to use estimates which we got from the annual financial reports of the different ministries and departments. Again, just a caution here and a limitation of this study, we were not able to get specific amounts of money assigned to address issues of migrants, largely because the budgeting process is done generally, looking at the different undertakings of different ministry and different departments of the government. And as such, we worked with the 2% of the population that we suppose is migrants among the entire bit, and we use the 2% to try and approximate and come up with the figures there. So I will not delve into the figures so much after giving that limitation, but I'll go deeper down there to the total approximated costs, where we stated that we approximated about 2 billion, or about 2 billion goes into processing or handling of migrants in detention places. That is, if you start looking at these figures from the point where the interaction of arresting a migrant commences, all the way to the investigations, presentation to court, the charging, the prosecution, the sentencing, moving from one point to another, then the entire repatriation process. So we came up with that estimate, and the details of that again are found in the report. So we estimated in Kenya, the Kenyan government approximately uses Kenya shillings 2 billion annually to process migrants through the criminal justice system, and afterwards repatriate them to their countries of origin. A third of the migrants are migration-related offenses, such as overstayed visas, lack of proper travel documentation, lack of work permits, but above all, the aspects of what they call illegal entry was the major thing that, of course, is informed by some of these factors here. So from the cost analysis, this means about 593, that is trillion or what, is a budgeted cost ripe for saving. So in other words, what we are saying is, these amounts, whatever cost that goes into addressing aspects of migrants in detention places, can be a cost that can be saved to address different aspects of this country, including the Agenda 4, among others. So we also spoke about the need for deprioritizing the detention of migrants who have no criminal records, but rather looking at the different options. In terms of the human factor, you can't hear me? Yes, better. In terms of human factor cost, we were also able to identify that the communication we had with regards to the costing, we depended so much on the annual reports. So we were not able to come down and ask, for instance, a police officer, how much does it cost you? And this is a human factor perspective. One case could be different from another. There is a case that can take 10 days to address the issues of repatriation. Another will take two months. Another will take 2 weeks or even 7 days. So we were not able to really come down to address the human factor cost and the different aspects of the costing that come in by virtue of the HR and so on. But nevertheless, from a human rights perspective, we are of the view that government should adopt a human rights-based approach, a perspective that will help us to look for alternatives to detention of migrants as a way of, one, helping the government to limit unnecessary liabilities that can emanate by virtue of human rights violations of migrants in our detention places and so on. Then also we spoke about the risk of vulnerable migrants, such as victims of trafficking, being criminalized. Our Counter-Trafficking in Persons Act is very clear on the need for us as duty bearers to help manage the victim of trafficking in the right way, accord them assistance once you have identified them properly. But if we continue having the overwhelming detention of migrants without even proper identification of whether they are victims of trafficking or otherwise, then we run the risk of violating the same law that we have put in place under the Counter-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2010. Then also we advocate for the implementation of national referral mechanism. These are guidelines that have been developed by the Counter-Trafficking in Persons Secretariat that are very crucial for all duty bearers to help identify the victims of trafficking and support them appropriately. As I finish the presentation, I would like to delve into the recommendations, and some of the recommendations that the report has been able to make and the findings that were informed by the findings of this study is the need for establishment of a standardized minimum safeguards compliant with the international human rights law that protect and guide the treatment of all migrants in the country, including the irregular migrants. Again, this is just a call and a reiteration that there is need for the government to fulfill her obligation with regard to the different UN human rights conventions of upholding human rights for all, including the migrants. There is need for training and capacity building for duty bearers. A number of them are stated there. These are the frontline duty bearers in the criminal justice sector, but also going deeper into the Federation of Kenya employers, but deeper also addressing aspects of the civil society organization. Why for this? Because all of them have a role in addressing aspects of migrants and helping us to address the challenge of irregular migration without necessarily just using the detention as a last option. There is a way out. So the third recommendation there is the need for development of alternative to detention guidelines. This will help us to provide alternative dispute mechanism, preferably address the challenges that occur with regard to the costing and the...
Well, of course, that's the situation, and as she said, of course, from the report, a few points to gather from the report. The main one being there are no statistics, there are not proper statistics to actually ascertain the number of migrants. Hence, it's difficult to even tell how much money is being used, in matters, migrant detention. But we're going to be having a more comprehensive report in subsequent bulletins. That's the lunchtime news, the Romanian News Hour with, of course, Jacqueline Wimbiru is going to file a more comprehensive report, so don't forget to look out for that. And for more on that, you can also log on to our website www.kbc.co.ke. Now back to our studio interview, whereby we were joined earlier on, of course, by Monica Wamboi, a deaf cyclist, and we also have Carol Nyagodie, a cyclist, and the two are kind of I don't know if the term is to say a good pair partners whenever they're cycling and whatnot. And she's been telling us her story, which is, it's quite inspirational, really. And before we went to the break, to that link, before we digressed a bit, we were talking about the journey and the challenges that she has encountered along the way. And of course, having participated in many competitions, maybe this is the junction whereby we get to maybe have a look at the medals that Monica Wamboi has won, and maybe she can tell us where, of course, she won the medals.
So I have this one that I got at Two Rivers Mall for participating in the race, being able to finish. And this one we won at Vika. I was number 2. And this one we won at Kasarani. And because of finishing the race, it was my second race. Yes, and this other one we got in here at a race in Nairobi, Grand Nairobi race. Yes.
Okay. Are the competitions, the current competitions and tournaments, are they only geared towards, focusing? Do they focus more on just the deaf cyclists here in Nairobi, or does it go beyond Nairobi and into other counties?
Yes, they have others. Yes. Maybe last time there was some people who won some medals, so we have some in Mombasa. Yes. So we have many races that include the deaf people who also win at the competitions despite the challenges. Yes.
Okay, seeing to it as there are a lot of deaf cyclists of late. Most people are taking up cycling. Can you say that the years that it has been witnessed in the country, can you say, rather, how can you gauge the level of competition between, among deaf cyclists?
For the deaf cyclists, there's not much competitions because we are very few, so we hope in the future will be more. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in different countries we see that we have some few people who join, but so despite the challenges, we hope that we'll be able to meet different people, we win, and then more people will be able to join us so that we don't seem to be the minorities and we achieve more things in great numbers. So we hope that there will be more encouragement of more deaf people to be included and join cycling. Perfect.
Okay, and now as we wind up, of course, just a parting shot. I did a parting shot from Monica Wambui, of course, quite inspiring story right there from her. And a parting shot maybe in regards to deaf cyclists in the country and how maybe you can even assist with, as we were talking earlier on, we just mentioned a bit about even encouraging younger kids to not feel restrained, to not feel like they cannot be as good as cyclists as others. And also from you, Nyagodi, also just a parting shot as we wind up.
So for now, I would like to encourage the young children, so we train them more on the basics, and then later maybe we see how they are faring on, and when they are more experienced, they'll have more skills in it. So we train them from when they are young, motivate them, and then it will be well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. And now from your side, of course, just a parting shot on how you as cyclists, you can encourage more people, more deaf people to actually get into, cycling, and how you can make it better for them to even compete in these tournaments.
Okay, so for the other cyclists who are not deaf, who are the majority at the moment, I think it will be good if we learn how to make the sport more inclusive of them. So we be on the lookout for them when we are cycling. We motivate them. When we are participating in events, be able to interact with them so they don't feel like they are secluded, they are alone. So that way they'll be able to bring more friends along, and that way we'll have a community that's more diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, there you've had it from Caro Nyagudi, of course, and our main guest today, who was Monica Wambui. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for giving us the time here at KBC, and we sure do hope that we're going to see, and if that we're going to be seeing even more of those pathways. Like, for example, at Mundimbingu, something of the sort, really. And you're going to be following up in regards to that. For now, we're going to be taking a short break, but don't go too far, because we're going to be back with a second segment shortly.
Collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m. on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC Online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Embakasi Utawala tuko locked. Ungem Utanyahururu Kasuku Massive,
Jesi ya Nyeri, Coast Maua na Kura kwa locked mbaya.
Kigumo Ward na ambao wote wako ndani ya KBC Channel 1.
Akulaliki Wednesday bila the ref.
Mbotela Auta Idara Kitengela,
Kiambu County 33 Pipeline Meru anawakilisha.
Rongai Maboksa pale go down. Karatina Auta Mlolongo wana enjoy show. Lare Sub County Auta Githurai 45, Lanet Barracks tuko ndani yake. Okongo Auta Carnation Maragwa Seti Nairobi.
Thika wako locked mbaya sana.
Watu wangu wa Nakuru Ngwaro.
Auta Gilgil live kutoka Mazeras, Bahati Massive, Embo Thika Massive, Siaya Shikambi, Kakamega, Bungoma County,
Kusia Boda,
Kisumu City.
Malindi yote iko ndani ya the ref.
When I'm in Kenya, I tune in to the rave. Get your mind brave, focus, conscious.
Kenya,
East Africa.
right.
Keep it locked.
Calling out to every Ghana.
Unajua nini mama? Niko karibu kwenda shule. Na sitaki kuwa na stress kukuhusu.
Kristi, hebu rudi shuleni.
Wewe enda mtuwakilishe sisi wale tulishindwa na masomo vipoa.
When Angela and Christy meet at the university, their bond somehow clicks.
Dad is somewhere up there in the sky on his way to China. I'll never forget when he took us to Singapore. Wow, it was fun.
Followed by a friendship that would defy their parallel backgrounds.
Since umezoea shower, good luck inside there.
How is this door shut?
Kuma bezi nuko mwisho ishikilie mlango kwa frame.
This new territory presents all manner of fasts as influence, temptation, family histories and peer pressure set in. The rest of their lives become a story of love, survival.
Wait. Please mom, kubali tu story tumalizane twende home.
Influence, backstabbing, jealousy and revenge.
Niambia tu kule stage muonekana na minji fulani mkikama hapa mtaani.
You decided to sneak from the hostel and go to Ray's studio without consulting me or Tiff.
Join us on Tempted the Campus Diaries as we explore this hilarious never seen before drama.
Hebu nilipe pesa zangu wewe.
With a touch to behold. A story of temptation.